Hello. I'm out in the garage. It's quite a cold day today. What I want to do is take the crusty flatty off the stand, which I have done already. I've put it on this workmate over here. I've cleaned up some of these ports and I'll come in with a better light in a minute. So I'm just doing that, but what I want to do is I'm going to bore these cylinders. I have a boring machine. I've never used it before, so I'm on a learning curve. But because I'm on a learning curve, I'm going to do a practice run. Now this engine looks okay, but its appearance belies the actual condition. It's in very poor condition. Don't know if you can see up there. It's worse than the other one, and it's got heavy cracks all around the bottoms of the main bearing webs. This block is scrap, and this is the block that I failed to knock the pistons out of. When I was talking about knocking the pistons out, this is the one where the job didn't go very well. So I'm going to give that another go, just for the sake of it, and I'm going to take the studs out of this block and treat this block as a practice for boring. I'll have a go at one or two of the cylinders on this block as a practice. Hello again. I just forgot to mention something there. This is that piece of angle iron that I use for lifting the bare blocks. I had this motor in my other truck just as a, you know, a dummy block. But when I lifted it out, this slid to the end. It didn't come out, but it slid to the end. So I ended up lifting the engine out with it at an angle like that. It did it okay, but I thought, I don't like this. So what I've done, I put the lifting bar in place, and I just went with a pen and marked it at the edges of the ports there, like that. And then I've got and then I slid it to the other position where you would have it if it had the gearbox on, and marked some more. So I then went with my welder and just put big blobs of weld on where I'd marked it. The idea is that they will stop it from sliding. So I would still say that this is a good idea, this angle iron piece. It is very handy for when you don't have a lot of headroom, like for instance lifting in and out of the back of a car. But these add an extra element of safety, and I'd strongly recommend that anybody who uses one of these puts some blobs of weld in there, or some nuts and bolts or something through. Okay, just wanted to mention that. Cheers then. I'm removing these nuts. These are actually not the proper nuts, and looking at this, these aren't the proper studs either. This is a dummy motor, a mock-up motor. A friend of mine put this motor together. I think he did a really good job. Can you see what I mean? That the motor is scrap. The heads are alright though, that's why I didn't want to get too... I say the heads are alright. No, the heads aren't alright, look. Look at that there. Would it get you out of the desert? That's the question. Probably. Right, okay. What's this head like? This head's alright actually, it's a good head. That's why I didn't want to start smashing it too much. This was actually the engine that was in my 33 coupe, and I believe it was in numerous floods, and you can see that I've bust the heads off the pistons, but I didn't have any success getting them out. And while trying to hammer that one out there, that the third one back on this side, number 3, I bust a hole in the side of the bore. I don't know if you can see that, I'll have to get a better light. At that point I gave up. This engine is scrap. Oh well, let's see what happens. I just don't know yet. So this is an exploratory teardown. Not much light this side. I did break the heads off, but I couldn't get anything to move. I'm going to have to take the valves out, aren't I, because the boring machine won't sit flat over the edges of these valves, and I don't have it on spacers. But it'd be interesting to see how many of these studs can be taken out successfully. But I seem to remember I was sort of wrestling this thing around on the floor when I was trying to take these pistons out before, which could be better, I'm not sure. They are really solidly stuck though. Okay, not looking great, is it? Maybe yes. Bloody hell, that wasn't easy, was it? Yeah, bloody hell. That worked. That was one that hits the web. That was why it was playing up. How about that then? Another one out. Right. I'm not trying to make out that this is easy. I think you can gather from that, from the way I'm having to work at it. Can you see that down there? That's what I did when I was trying to knock it out before on the floor. When I did my other video knocking the pistons out, I said I did it once and it didn't go too well. Well, this is the one that didn't go too well. That doesn't normally happen. That's actually broke the piston and left a piece in. Doesn't matter though, does it? You know, however it comes out, as long as it does come out, that's good. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm getting a bit tired and I can feel I'm getting a bit clumsy with the hammer. all joking aside, I think that's worked quite well. Okay, I'll show you why this block is scrap. Can you see here? All the way along there, look, to there. And all the way across that web there. All the way across that web. There. Can you see that crack? And then it continues on like that all the way here, and that is from freeze action, water in the block, and it freezes and breaks that area there. Because this is cracked across this web, I couldn't really do anything with it, but it's also so crusty and so got a lot of rust up in all the oil holes and everything. And this engine was in my coupe, like I said, and it came from Kansas City, Missouri, and I believe Kansas City was subject to some floods. I believe this engine sat in the vehicle and it was subject to floods, either that or in a barn with a leaky roof. But I've used the main caps off this to resurrect another engine. So the chances of getting this one going again are very, very slim. And there's the damaged bore there. You can see there ain't much wall thickness, is there? Can you see the wall thickness? It'd be interesting to get a piece out and see what the wall thickness is, wouldn't it? I thought the other engine was crusty, but this one really is, isn't it? I mean, I let it sit out in the garden as well for ages, just out in the weather, so that can't have helped. But for mocking up, blocking up, you know, when you're building a car and you just want something to drop in to, you know, to get your dimensions, it's useful for that. And it looks better without all those pistons and broken rods hanging in mid-air, doesn't it? Okay, back in a bit. That's broken, I think. Yeah. Well, you know, I did try to be as careful as I could. Fucking hell. Oh my god. Interestingly enough, that valve isn't on its seat, just by a tiny bit. I mean, if you could turn the cam, you could use the cam to just push the valve up. Well, I suppose the fact that it's all heating up and getting warm isn't going to hurt, is it? I don't suppose it'll hurt the tool. You know, it'd have to get like really hot, wouldn't it, to hurt the heat treatment on the tool. Hello. I've got this one valve assembly that doesn't want to come out here. So what I'm gonna do is get that spring out of the way. I'm going to sort of bend it like that and kind of lever it down at the same time. I'm just going to cut the head off the valve and then drive the guide down with an old socket. It's going. Okay, I'm just going to keep smashing it down, see what happens. Okay, that's my socket. Well, that was close actually, I never thought of that. The socket just about goes down the bore. I cut it just that side of that ridge, that step, but I could have cut it there, it wouldn't have mattered. I don't think, I'm not sure. Oh, we can weld that back on, it'll be alright. Not. Anyway, that's all the pistons out from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4 broken studs. I looked and these bores are at plus 60 as far as I can tell. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to try and rebore this because I want to use it. I'm going to try and rebore this because I want to test my boring machine and I've never used it before. I need to clean this face and mount this block in such a way that the boring machine can go on top of it. I've made some brackets that will go onto the block to hold it with the deck horizontal for boring, so I need to test them. I've come out to the garage today because I just wanted to show you that I did successfully get all the pistons out and I have successfully got all the valves out. I came out yesterday and got the valves out. This is the side with the cylinder damage. I measured that wall thickness. I got the piece out that was down there and it's about 4mm, which is about 160 thou. So it isn't very thick, is it? And these bores I think are approximately 30 thou over. So this will be a good test to see if I can successfully bore to 60 thou, which is what I want to do on the other engine. I've took a file and rubbed it over this head face. I say head face, you know, this deck surface, to take all the lumps and bumps off. So what I'm going to do is take this down off the stand, set it up on another stand that I've been working on, and set it up so that I can offer my boring machine to it and then see about making a clamp. Okay, I just wanted to do that little roundup. I'm just recording a little segment to act as an addendum to my existing videos. With regards to valve removal, I would say dosing everything with penetrating fluid for as long as possible before the actual strip down is attempted would be a good idea. I managed to get all the valves out of this block successfully using the similar techniques. Only on one of them did I knock it apart and cut the head off and then knock the guide down, but that worked okay. With regards to studs, I wanted to try this block because it was a lot more heavily seized and corroded than the one that I stripped down recently, the crusty one. And you can see here on this side there are 4 studs that broke. I worked my way from this end like this and broke those 2, and then I modified my technique and was able to get these out, except even then I did break 2. I was very lucky on the crusty one. this one's the even crustier one, but I was very lucky on the crusty flathead that they did all come out. I don't want to give the wrong impression that that will work on every engine. That's the important thing I'm trying to say, that I don't want to give the impression that that will work on every engine. It won't. And again, I think that liberal application of penetrating fluids and application of heat is going to put you in a better position. I knocked the pistons out of this block, and on the other videos when I referred to a job that didn't go so well, this was the job, and I managed to put that hole in that cylinder there, down there. What's really annoying is that I managed to put a hole into this cylinder as well, on that side there. Can you see it? And that was purely due to being very, very heavy-handed. Again, I just went at it like a mad thing and just smashed them out regardless. I think liberal application of penetrating oil for a long period before you try and do anything would have helped. But this engine is scrap for numerous reasons, so I wasn't really too worried about it, but I was interested to see if the same technique would work, and it did work, but not without damage. So those are the addendums to my previous videos, that what worked really well for that engine, which is this engine here, might not work for every engine, and you have to bear that in mind. But if you just find a technique that works well for your particular engine, you know, and stick with it. Whatever's working, stick with it. Okay? Thanks very much then. Cheers then. Bye.